Imagine waking up in the middle of the night. The silence is absolute. The air feels heavy, and darkness envelops every corner of the room. You open your eyes, but something is wrong. Your body doesn't respond. A feeling of weight settles on your chest, as if a large block of concrete is pressing you against the mattress. You try to move your fingers, turn your head, but nothing happens. Panic begins like a slow wave, growing until it takes over every thought. You try to scream, but your voice is trapped, choked in your throat. The sound never reaches your lips. Then, a chilling sensation runs down your spine. You feel that you are not alone. In the corner of the room, something takes shape in the shadows. A dark silhouette, faceless, just a presence. It watches, motionless. Fear turns into terror. The air becomes thick, almost unbreathable. You feel the invisible eyes of that figure piercing your soul, reading every secret, every weakness. This is not a dream. You are awake, but a prisoner of your own body. This is the phenomenon known as sleep paralysis. For centuries, it has haunted people from different cultures, all around the world. Science offers an explanation. During REM sleep, the deepest stage, our brain temporarily shuts down the body's ability to move, a protective measure to prevent dreams from turning into physical actions. But, in some cases, the mind wakes up before the body. You are trapped between two worlds, conscious but paralyzed. For those who feel it, there is no rational consolation. The thin boundary between the real and the imaginary dissolves. Auditory and visual hallucinations manifest. Whispers, footsteps, presences, shadows. Ancient civilizations already knew this state. In Japan, the phenomenon is called kanashibari, an invisible force that binds the body and drains the victim's energy. In Brazil, folklore speaks of the pisadeira, a thin old woman with long fingers and red eyes who steps on the chests of those who sleep with full bellies. In Italy, the entity is pandafeci, a creature that blocks the movements of the sleeper. In ancient Egypt, it was believed that hungry spirits fed on the energy of the living while they were defenseless. In all these stories, there is a common element: the presence of a dark entity, a night observer, patient, silent, who visits the vulnerable when the light goes out and the world awakens to the unknown. These stories are not limited to the past. Today, thousands of people report similar experiences. Maria from Porto Alegre woke up one night feeling suffocated. She saw, at the door of her room, a faceless figure, just a dense shadow. She felt something climb onto her body, pressing on her chest, making it impossible to breathe. When she finally managed to move, she was drenched in sweat. This repeated itself, always at 3 in the morning. Fernando, from the city of Lisbon, Portugal, recounts that once he woke up paralyzed, unable to speak or move. A figure was approaching, whispering words in an incomprehensible language. With each attempt to move his hand, the being came closer. When he managed to regain movement, the entity disappeared, as if it had never been there. And then there are also stories like Morgana's. She was 34 years old and lived alone in a small apartment on the 8th floor of an old building in Sao Paulo. Her life was routine, full of common commitments and worries. But one night, everything changed. At 2:47, she woke up to a strange sound coming from the corner of the room. A low hiss, almost imperceptible. The streetlight faintly illuminated the opposite wall. Lara tried to turn to see, but realized her body wouldn't respond. First, she felt the weight, as if someone had sat on her chest, slowly crushing her breath. Then, a breathing sound. Deep, guttural, too close to be imagined. Next, a sweet, putrid smell. The air became unbearable. Then, she saw it. At the foot of the bed, a tall, black figure, hunched over, with arms too long for a human being. The eyes were two red, pulsating, hypnotic holes. They seemed to see everything. Lara tried to scream, but only silence answered. The entity advanced slowly, dragging its fingers along the ground, thin fingers bent in an unnatural way. A hoarse whisper echoed in Lara's ears. "You let me in. Now it's too late." For a moment, the city lights flickered, and the creature was there, inches from her face. She felt the hot breath, the wet sound of an animalistic breathing. A rough tongue touched her cheek. The terror was absolute. When she finally managed to move a finger, the entity dissolved like smoke, inhaled into an invisible place. Since that night, Lara can no longer sleep in the dark, and in every mirror in the house, she feels that something is watching her, even when she should be alone. Science tries to explain. Researchers claim that during sleep paralysis, the brain mixes reality and hallucination. Electrical signals cross regions responsible for perception, hearing, and vision. But why, then, do people from different cultures describe the same type of entity? A dark silhouette, faceless, a sensation of suffocation, incomprehensible whispers, always at the same time, between 3 and 4 in the morning, the so-called devil's hour, considered in various traditions as the moment when the veil between worlds is thinnest. Researchers at the University of Toronto studied a specific point in the brain, the temporoparietal junction. When stimulated, patients report seeing a shadowy copy of themselves, as if their shadow came to life and watched them. But is it just a hallucination? Or is there something more, waiting on the threshold between sleep and wakefulness? What if these shadows are not just projections of our subconscious? What if, in fact, they are invaders? Entities that lurk around the fragile, feeding on fear and loneliness. The next time you wake up in the middle of the night, unable to move a muscle, remember these accounts. Do not try to open your eyes. Do not listen to the whispers coming from the dark. And, for the love of everything you believe in, do not look at the corner of the room where the shadow is darkest, because he is there, always waiting, patiently, for you to see him. And remember one thing, he only appears when you are alone. So, good night, and sweet dreams. And that, if you can still sleep.